look at the size of my hair. It's almost as beefy as the new Godzilla.
Hey Basement Geeks, welcome back to the channel, and look, it's me! Am I taking over the channel again? Well, no, not quite yet, but maybe soon you might have another takeover from me. No, I'm just here for a fun video. We got a viewer request from River on Twitter, asked, you know, with the new Godzilla movie coming out, and yeah, I'm a bit of a big Godzilla fan, so, you know, I like those big dumb lizard movies. Trying to scroll back and dig up through a million old tweets here, but I got it, and River wrote, if you wanted to spice things up with Godzilla's new movie, it would be nice to hear your top 5 Godzilla films. Would be interesting and cool to hear from someone who loves and knows the material. So yeah, it's no big secret, I am a huge Godzilla fan. I love watching all the TOHO movies. My daughter is now becoming a big, huge Godzilla fan. She loves the big guy. She loves watching all these big kaiju movies with Daddy. So instead of a top 5, I actually decided I'm going to make it a top 7. Why 7? Why not 5 or 10? Well, everybody does 5 or 10s. We're going to do 7 because it's different, and I want to do things different. I also wanted to make it a top 7 just because if I made it a top 5, there's going to be so much 90s Godzilla in there. I'm not going to lie, I'm very 90s Godzilla biased. 90s Godzilla is my favorite Godzilla. Very, very biased in that department. But making it a top 7, I was able to kind of squeeze a little more difference, a little more options in there from majorly the 3 TOHO eras. So before we start the list, I gotta say what I call the hashtag disclaimer for dummies, because it's the internet. This is just a fun personal list. It's my list. It's not your list. It's just for fun. It's not a list of the top rated or the most well received or, you know, the best Godzilla movies. These are just my personal Godzilla movies that I like to go to for fun. Like if I'm having a bad day or I'm having just a Saturday where I want to sit down and watch a Godzilla movie, these are the ones I really go to the most often. And the best thing about a franchise as long and as large as Godzilla's franchise, I mean, it's over 65 years now that Godzilla has been stomping buildings and kicking other lizards. And the best part about that is with 30 plus movies under his belt, everybody who's a fan that's going to list their favorite movies, it's going to be a little bit different. And that's fun. It creates discussion. So if you're the kind of person who gets mad because your favorite Godzilla movie isn't where you want it to be on the list, you're part of the disclaimer for dummies. You're kind of what's wrong with fandom. Just sit back, relax, shut your brain off, have some fun, and let's just chat about the big guy. That's pretty good, eh? That was pretty damn good. Pretty proud of myself there. Couple things to mention on this list. I am not including any of the US Godzilla movies. The 2014, 2019, I'm not including, although I am a big fan of the 2014 Godzilla movie. I know it's a very polarizing movie among fans, among Godzilla fans and moviegoers, but I actually champion that movie. It takes a while to get there, but the ending of that movie, once it gets there, it is a wicked fight. And the new one, obviously, it hasn't come out here yet. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe by the time this video comes up, I might have seen it. But I'm planning on seeing big lizards kick each other, really, like humans doing really stupid things with very poor decisions, and a ludicrous plot that doesn't make any sense, and I plan on having a blast with that, just like every other Godzilla movie. And the 1998 Godzilla movie, I don't even count. The only good thing about that movie was the Taco Bell commercials.
I think I need a bigger box.
Glaring omission, so I'm going to do a couple honorable mentions here, but glaring omission, the original Godzilla is not on this list. I know it's important. It was a very important piece of cinema history. It's what started it all. It was very relevant in its time, especially with its take on nuclear testing. But I love the movie. I love all the movies, even the worst ones. But as good a movie as the original Godzilla is, it's not one of my go-tos when I really just want to sit down and watch the big monster fight movies. And Shin Godzilla is not on this list, not because it's not great. Shin Godzilla is a fantastic movie. You guys should definitely check it out, especially if you're a Godzilla fan. It's just too new that I haven't watched it like a billion times yet, like the other movies on this list. But go see Shin Godzilla, like, if you can see it. See Shin Godzilla now. It's a great, fantastic Godzilla movie. Even if the first evolution Godzilla with the whole turkey face spread on the ground thing is kind of hilariously ridiculous to look at. It's actually a really fantastic movie. Go watch Shin Godzilla. And one last apology to Godzilla fans, there will be no Jet Jaguar on this list. I'm sorry. I still love you, Jet Jaguar. Okay, let's finally get into it! Number 7 on the list is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Why? Because it's freaking Mechagodzilla. It's just as zany as all the other Godzilla movies. This was the second last Godzilla movie from the Showa area. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Showa. Showa, Heisei, Millennial era. But I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If I'm not, you guys can help me out, correct me. I don't speak Japanese, but I'm going to go with Showa area. I just said area. Showa era. Basically, a fake Godzilla is going around, and it's giving Godzilla a bad name, I guess. I don't know. This was kind of during the era where Godzilla was almost like a good guy, champion of the people, almost a superhero type dealie in the 70s movies. And, you know, the movies were getting ludicrous. They're absolutely ridiculous. A lot of fun, though, and it's just so silly. And then, you know, Godzilla fights him, and he starts blowing off pieces of the fake Godzilla covering him, revealing this, you know, metallic Mechagodzilla underneath. And I love the 90s and the millennial versions of Mechagodzilla. They really updated the look, and they look fantastic. But why I chose the 70s one is it's got such a classic look and feel to the Mechagodzilla that really feels old sci-fi, if you can kind of get what I'm saying. Like, it has a really old sci-fi vibe that has a lot of charm to it, and the look of Mechagodzilla in the movie really adds to why I love it so much with that classic charm. It also has a more obscure Godzilla creature, like TOHO kaiju, in it with King Caesar, who is absolutely ludicrous looking. He is ridiculous looking. He looks like some half man, half big stupid puppy face type thing. And it's absolutely insane. Like, they summon him, like, he's sleeping in a mountain, I believe. And it's been a little bit since I've seen it, but he's sleeping in a mountain. And they get this girl to come sing a song to wake him up. And they, like, film the whole song. Like, she literally sings the whole song, like, no cuts. The whole song and the thing. Like, you're sitting there watching and you're like, move on, this isn't a music video. She's just singing to a mountain, a sleeping dog-faced guy in a mountain. It's absolutely insanely forced and dumb, but I don't know. It's just, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. It is just a great, fun Godzilla movie if you want to go back to the classic style Godzilla movies. Number 6 on the list comes from the Millennial series, and it is Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, which is a contender for the most unnecessarily long title for a movie ever. This movie does something completely different with the Godzilla lore. It completely ignores the Godzilla lore, actually, and instead, it's got Godzilla coming back, who is a bad guy again. He's evil. Honestly, he only really became a good guy in that 70s period, 60s, 70s period. He's always just been kind of a force, an unstoppable, menacing force. But in this one, he is basically the evil guy. He is the villain in this one, even though you're rooting for him, much like a Jason movie. And it's got Mothra and King Ghidorah and Paragon are legendary creatures who they're bringing back to actually stop Godzilla. And it's really weird seeing King Ghidorah be a good guy in the movie. Why is it not called Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Paragon, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack? Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe they ran out of breath titling it because it's so freaking long, so Paragon, I guess. I really like the look of Godzilla in this movie. It does have a bit of a rubber suit, cheesy feel to it, which, you know, has its own charm in its way. It's kind of not what you expect from the Millennium series as much, but he looks f***ing pissed. Like, Godzilla looks f***ing pissed in this movie. He is mad. Like, he is evil and mad. This is actually a Godzilla figure from that movie. And yeah, he's pissed. So this is definitely a good one too for people who aren't as familiar with Godzilla movies, because it kind of does its own thing with the lore. So it is a great place to jump into if you want to just try out like a Godzilla movie from the Millennial era, which doesn't follow much continuity anyway, that whole era of Godzilla movies. It's a good one. Give it a go. You might like it. Number 5 on the list is Mothra vs. Godzilla from 1964, also of course known as Godzilla vs. Mothra, depending on how you list it, or continuing the tradition of bad US renaming of things, Godzilla vs. The Thing, just like how King Ghidorah was called Monster X or the Astro Monster at some times, because they didn't have as big followings overseas, I guess. So instead of just giving them their names, they had to make up something ludicrous to get people in the theaters or the drive-ins or whatever. So this is the movie that actually introduced me to Mothra on film, actually, or The Thing, if you will, which previously I only had ever really known from the Nintendo game. My grandmother used to have this Nintendo game when I was a very small child. She had bought an old Nintendo and a bunch of games, and I used to play this in her basement all the time. It is not a good game, but it's got that charm to it where it's a lot of fun, and I actually really love this game. I might make another list involving this game sometime soon. But that was when I first found out about Mothra, and then the movie is what introduced me to Mothra in the whole Godzilla, TOHO, kaiju spectrum. And it's got that charm. Like, Godzilla fights a big fuzzy butterfly, really. I mean, it's just awesome. Mothra is a huge staple in the TOHO stable as well. It's, you know, pretty much everybody knows who Godzilla and Mothra are. Even if you've never seen a Godzilla movie, you pretty much know who Godzilla and Mothra are. They are icons. They are complete pop culture icons. And it's just a great introduction. It's one of the better of the Showa series Godzilla movies, in my opinion, if not the best. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is the best, because I think this is the last Showa series one I have on this list, so it's my personal best. But it's just got a charm to it. You know, Godzilla fights a big butterfly. It's got the little twins that sing the Mothra song that summon him, the island of all the Mothra worshippers, who Mothra is their god. It's got a great ending. Mothra often kind of dies. Mothra has like kind of like a life cycle type thing going on in these movies where Mothra dies and then there's like Mothra larvae spawn. So it's got these little baby Mothra larvae that are starting shooting their web and tying up Godzilla, and it's just got a hokey classic vibe to it. I really like it. Side note, I introduced Adriana to the 90s Mothra movies one time, and like my kid has seen stuff like Aliens and Critters. She's seen, you know, characters die in movies and stuff, but when I first showed her the Mothra movie in the 90s and Mothra died in the movie, she bawled her little eyes out. It was the most adorable thing. I almost felt bad, but it was just too cute. It was just too adorable. She cried. People are dying in these other movies, and she's just laughing because, hey, you know, the aliens got them. That's funny and all that. But then this big, giant, fuzzy rubber butterfly dies, and she just bawled her eyes out. It was the cutest little thing in the world. Oh, it sounds so horrible saying my daughter crying is adorable, but it was just so cute! Number 4 on the list is Godzilla vs. Biollante. Biollante? I don't 100% know the pronunciation. I always just say Biollante. They probably say it a million times in the movie. It's one of those things that just doesn't register in my head because I call it Biollante. I've always called it Biollante. So it's Biollante, whether that's right or not. I don't even check. I just watch. Godzilla vs. Biollante is one of the most underrated gems in all of the Godzilla like history, the whole franchise, every era, Showa era, Heisei era, I hope I'm saying that right too, Heisei? If I'm not, correct me, but Heisei is what we call 90s Godzilla around here. This movie was from 89, but it's part of the 90s Godzilla series. So I'm going to go with Heisei era, Millennial era. It is the most underrated gem of the whole Godzilla spectrum, if you ask me. Why do I rate this one so high in the entire history of Godzilla movies? Well, number one, it's got my favorite looking Godzilla in the entire franchise. Yeah, more than the later 90s movies, more than the classic 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s look, more than the upgraded millennial ones look. It is my absolute favorite looking Godzilla. He's tough looking and he just looks badass. He looks tough and badass. I absolutely love the look of Godzilla in this movie. He has to be my favorite Godzilla design. The plot of it is just ludicrous. Basically, what he's fighting in this movie, the monster he's fighting in this movie, this is going to sound ridiculous when I say this, but it's a mutated rose. Yeah, he's fighting a big rose. It's a really nasty plant. Roses have thorns. They're a bit of a prick. This is going to sound absolutely crazy after I say, yeah, he fights a big rose. But Biollante is absolutely terrifying looking. If you're a kid watching this movie from all the previous Godzilla movies of the 70s era, and you go in and you see this, he's actually extremely terrifying looking. Like, he is menacing. He's huge. He's got big, huge, massive teeth and these viney things going everywhere to grab you. Like, he is insanely creepy looking. And it really ups the horror elements in this one, I find, too. Like, it's got a very strong horror vibe to it. You know, even before you see the monster, when you see the vines grabbing people and everything, like, it's pretty intense for, like, you know, a movie where a big lizard fights another big monster. It's actually got quite a good horror vibe to it. The fight with Biollante, too, is actually fantastic as well. The ending is foolish, but, I mean, come on. You're watching it for a big lizard to fight another monster. So don't expect the greatest ending in the world. It's got all kinds of silly nonsense, which later actually comes up in another movie, strangely enough, called Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, but that's definitely not on this list. And there's a reason for that. So if you're also a horror fan and have never checked out this Godzilla movie, give this one a try. It might be right up your alley and branch you more into the sci-fi or giant monster kaiju type movies. It's quite fun, and that horror vibe definitely sells it. Number 3 is Godzilla Final Wars, and this movie is f***ing bonkers. Like, it is just nuts. This movie came out during the 50th anniversary of Godzilla, and it was the farewell song to the millennial era of movies, and it's just nuts. I don't know how to describe it. It's ludicrous. It's nonsense. It's absolutely crazy. Godzilla's not really in the first half of the movie outside its starting scene, but once Godzilla shows up, it is just non-stop. So the plot's got, like, these soldiers. There's these super soldiers. They're, you know, basic, you know, Japanese people, but they have this super fighting power with all these abilities and everything. They get stronger with the help of aliens who come down to promise to get rid of the world's monsters so that the people don't have to deal with them anymore. These aliens are going to fight. Of course, if you've ever seen any Godzilla movie ever, or if these people had any history or common sense, they would know that the aliens are diabolical double-crossers. They've got an evil agenda up their sleeves. Like, of course, they're bad guys. They're going to double-cross. The aliens are always bad guys in the Godzilla movies. It's been 50 years. You should know this. And so the humans are left to fight off the aliens with their super soldiers and Captain Mustache. And it is the most glorious mustache in the world. Like, look at that mustache. What the mustache commands, you obey. So the humans are getting their asses handed to them, and they decide the only way that they can survive and win is to bring Godzilla back, who was just frozen in the Arctic from their last battle. So when they bring Godzilla back, and of course they've got every monster in this movie, Gigan shows up. He's got all these new metallic parts, saw blades and hooks, new look. And Godzilla just wakes up and he just kills everybody. Like Godzilla, he decides every monster on Earth, it's over. It's over. I'm the king. I'm the king of the monsters. You think you're the king of the monster? No, you're not the king of the monster. I'm the king of the fucking monsters. And I'm serious. He destroys almost the entire TOHO stable at the time. I mean, TOHO has a lot of kaiju, but they crammed as many as they could in this movie. They even threw in the American Godzilla from 1998 Zilla, because they just hated it so much. In fact, the whole Millennial series started just because Toho in Japan hated the 98 Godzilla so much they were like, no, that's not how you do Godzilla. This is how you do Godzilla, and made the Millennial series. They brought him back from the dead, which I will bring up later in this list. So he even takes the original 98 Godzilla and just whoops his ass. It's like a 2-second fight. Like, Godzilla is just killing everything. He does not take the time to fight these monsters until a couple monsters at the very end. He is just flat out destroying everybody because he is the king. You don't mess with the king. So if you just want to see a bunch of giant monsters get the crap beat out of them by the king, this is good. Don't expect any coherency. It's absolutely nuts. It makes no sense. But my god, is it a lot of fun. Bonkers is the only way I can describe this movie. Bonkers. Number 2 on this list is a very important Godzilla movie. Very touching one to me. It was the end of the whole 90s era of Godzilla movies, the whole Heisei period. I still hope I'm saying that. But this was the end of the 90s period. It is Godzilla versus Destoroyah. And this was the one where Toho officially decided to kill Godzilla. Like, this was Godzilla's death. This was the end. This was supposed to be just where it all was done. Until, like I said earlier, where 98 Godzilla pissed them off so much they were like, nope, we're starting a new series already. This one has a lot of strong horror elements to it as well, much like the Biollante movie. It's got a lot of little creatures. Destoroyah. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video where we did a haul video showing our Godzilla collection, and strangely enough, you know, people got mad at me for this, but I'm going to bring this up anyway, because based on what you watch, where you look, it's Godzilla versus Destoroyah or Godzilla versus Destoroyah, which, to be perfectly honest, neither matter. They're both correct. It doesn't matter. Get over it. It's literally just one extra O in some pronunciations. It has been released under both titles. They are both correct. Nobody is more right or more wrong. I have seen it as Destoroyah, so I call it Godzilla versus Destoroyah. It's just fun to say. Destoroyah! Destoroyah looks like the devil, really. If the kaiju was a devil, it's Destoroyah. He's got a very devilish look to him, and it has a lot of little creatures from Destoroyah that terrorize all the human characters in the city. Like I said, very, very strong horror vibe. Godzilla's death in the movie was very important to me and touching, and you get to see kind of like, almost like an offspring, a new son of Godzilla be born out of it, but watching Godzilla, you know, slowly in pain kind of die. He is basically, in the movie, he's become too radioactive, and he's basically, you know, having a nuclear explosion inside of himself. Like, he can't control it anymore. The nuclear energy in him has gotten out of hand, and he's burning throughout the whole movie. That's why they use the term Burning Godzilla. He is called Burning Godzilla because he has all these orange, fiery spots all over him. He looks amazing in the movie. It's also one of my favorite Godzilla designs. I love seeing all the burning spots on him. Very, very cool. But seeing him eventually meet his demise, you know, he's winning. Like, you know, he's meeting his demise against this really, really strong monster. but he goes out on his own. He is defeated by himself. It was really touching send-off to so many years in such a strong series. Godzilla fans in the 90s, I'm sure it hit them really, really, really hard. For they're movies about cheesy lizards, but you grow really attached to them the more you watch. So it was a very touching send-off. I really, really love the film. Like I said, it is the end of the 90s era, so you might want to watch some of the other 90s era movies first if you're going to jump into this one. But it is definitely just under my favorite Godzilla movie. And, at times it might overtake it, but I'm pretty sure the next one is definitely my number one, and it's probably number one on a lot of people's lists. Number one, we are at number one on the list, and number one is without question Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from 1991. King Ghidorah is no doubt Godzilla's biggest rival. King Ghidorah is to Godzilla as Batman is to the Joker. He is Godzilla's Joker. There is no Godzilla without King Ghidorah. He is definitely the strongest villain of the entire Godzilla series. He faced him multiple times throughout the 70s. He faced him again later in the Millennial era. But this one is my absolute favorite, the 1990s Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah movie. And all I gotta say to let you know why I love this movie is Mecha King Ghidorah. Mecha King Ghidorah. I mean, the plot itself is bad crazy. It's a Godzilla movie. All the plots are crazy. They're absolutely ludicrous. But this one is nuts. It basically, these aliens bring Godzilla or Ghidorah down. Godzilla defeats Ghidorah and he blows his head off and everything. And then they leave these three cute little creatures down. They're these little golden creatures with little monster dragony bat faces. And it's hey, these things are really cute right now, but they're gonna grow up to be the world's biggest three-headed head. And then there's some time travel. They go back to stop the atomic bomb test that made Godzilla from ever happening. So then Godzilla never happens. So then Ghidorah comes back in the future, and they don't have Godzilla to protect them anymore because they stopped the thing from ever happening by capturing a Godzillasaurus. But much to our delight, from stopping the original Godzilla from ever happening, Godzilla was inevitable, apparently. You can't stop Godzilla. So what ended up happening is eventually they ended up accidentally creating an even bigger and stronger Godzilla. So now all this time travel mumbo jumbo is all screwed up. We have a bigger, stronger Godzilla than from Godzilla vs. Biollante, now fighting a Mecha King Ghidorah with a robot head to replace his blown off head. And it's just, again, I'm going to use the word bonkers. It's just bonkers. It's batshit crazy. It's a hell of a good time. It's classic rubber suit mayhem. Just watch it. It is the best of the Godzilla movies for a long time Godzilla fan. If you're into this kind of stuff, giant monsters fighting each other, it is an absolute blast. The plot's ludicrous. The people are foolish. It's everything you need in a Godzilla movie. It's an absolute good time. So that was a list of my top 7 Godzilla movies. I would love to know what your favorite Godzilla movies are. You leave them down in the comments section below because, like I said earlier, with a franchise this large and this fun, spanning so many years, everybody has such different opinions and tastes on these kinds of movies. It's kind of like ranking the Friday the 13th movies or the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Yeah, there's some that are usually near the top and some that are usually near the bottom, but everybody has such different tastes that everybody's list varies at least slightly. So I would love to know what your favorites are on the list. Are you a big Godzilla fan? And if you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed hearing me ramble on about my fandoms and just having a good time, you'd like to see me and or Tracey do more content like this, give this video a like, leave a comment in the comment section below. give us some ideas of some stuff you'd like to see us list. It's very interesting. I haven't really done a viewer request video list before, so this was a very good time. It was very fun. I really enjoyed doing it. So like, comment, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, Jason from DB. You can follow us on all the other platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Tracy does Snapchat at Tracy's Basement. And remember, guys, keep coming back for more Tracy's Basement. Bye. Bon, 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 bon. It's a classic theme. Johnny's gonna be so annoyed Shin Godzilla is not on this list. Suck it, Hyper Geek.